Right. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Happy Easter Sunday to you folks. Again, we don't take days off here. This is what we do. We do it regardless of holiday, non-holiday. Every single Sunday, we're here on Stay Hired Sunday. It's your first time tuning in. My name, as one Crookshank, I'm the one and only Move Swiftly speaker, former Division One college football player, and current five-time, soon-to-be six-time published author and educator. The Move Swiftly brand, founder of the Move Swiftly brand, where we take the innovative teamwork lessons that you learn on the football field and align them with businesses and business owners so they have employees and staff that moves as efficiently as a championship, high school, or youth team. Football team, more specifically. Kimberly, I'll let you just introduce yourself as we get going today.
All right. Hi, Swan. Nice to be here. Happy Easter. I am Kimberly Blue, founder and owner of Art and HR Solutions, and I help businesses make it.
All right, cool. Oh wait, I didn't mean to show that yet. All right, so today what we're going to be discussing, and I purposely did not tell Kimberly the subject and give her the context of the story because it is actually something that is real and it's happening. And if we're not prepared for it, guys, you as an employee, you will be replaced. All right. So yesterday, I happened to be actually before yesterday, I had a colleague who actually went to San Francisco this past last weekend. She was in San Francisco and she was talking to me about this thing called Waymo cars, where now they don't even need human beings to drive Ubers anymore. All right. And it got me thinking
Wow.
about all the things. Yeah, if you look at, I'm putting it on the screen so you guys can look at its Waymo cars. And she was telling me how it's, big out in San Francisco. And as you can see, it's coming out here in Miami. They're coming. And the people who were Uber drivers are no longer going to be needed when this kind of stuff spreads and things of that nature. And yesterday I had a really eventful day because my sister was in Miami and I had to pick them up. My sister and my niece got back from a cruise and we picked them up in Miami and we had brunch and we did a lot of things. I picked up my aunt and my cousin was there. It was kind of a good family day. But one of the things that struck me as I was, as I'm always thinking about, the Sunday after and what we're going to be talking about, because I'm fully committed, fully, doing this. This is what I do, folks. Okay. So anyway, we were looking for a parking garage, Kimberly. And what happened was there was a person there who used to be, if you've ever been to a parking garage, there used to be a person that actually collects the money before you go in and out. There's actually a person there. Okay, it's your job. Take the money and park whatever time, and they do whatever time. That was actually an actual job for some people. So I get there, and all the person does who's sitting there is show me a QR code because they have this new app that I've never seen. Never seen this app that you can just scan the QR code and hit the start parking, put your license plate in, put your card information in, and it starts tracking when you hit start parking. So now as we left and as we were there and we weren't there, or as I was going, I was coming, I was able to just have it automatically come out of my phone based on the time that I actually hit it. And it got me thinking about the people that used to have these jobs. Like these were actual jobs for human beings. And then when I really looked at the garage, I'm like, the place is filled with these QR codes. So at some point, that person who showed me the QR code is no longer going to be needed because people are going to realize, hey, look, all right, I can just sign up where I need to sign up and do what I have to do. And I'm like, okay, this is the perfect topic for my HR expert because as an HR person, as a person that's going out hiring folks and trying to find value and bring value to your organization, you can't have people. And the thing is, here's the crazy part. And this is what really made me remember the story is I had to drop my aunt closer to the restaurant. So I left the garage before I hit start parking. And then I came back and then I said, hey, does it start? I tried to, just get some because I didn't know how to use it. And she goes, yeah, just hit the QR code. She was rude with me. And I was telling my niece, I'm like, see, that's the kind of stuff that gets you fired because you're just not adding skill. You're just sitting there on your phone and all you're doing is show like, what is the actual need for you to be here? That what if I was one of the owners of the app or one of the owners of whatever, and all of a sudden it's like, look, that person's just taking up check or wasting money. And the question or the thing I would love to hear your kind of get your thoughts on is when you're talking about HR and you're talking about bringing in the right people, what kind of advice or what kinds of things do you tell people when it comes to, hey, these apps, these technology, these things that are moving forward, they're literally going to be replacing dead weight. They're built here. They're coming here to remove these folks from these jobs because now the QR system and the people can put their money on a card and everything can be moving efficiently. What are some of those discussions like? You know, for you as an HR exec, and how do you navigate that?
So it is coming. You know, when you're speaking about interviewing, Amazon is already doing interviews with a computer. They don't even connect with a human at
Uh,
all.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Okay, now you know. Wait. Say that again. You lost me.
The
Amazon is
whole
doing
interview
interviews with
process.
that.
So
Right.
they apply to the job, they
Right.
get an email, and they get an interview invite, and the
Uh huh.
whole interview is done, and it gets scored, and
Uh huh.
those that score a certain amount get hired.
Oh, so there's no actual human interaction anymore.
No.
Okay.
So yeah. So you got to stay relevant. Think about
Hmm.
even automation when it comes to reporting for, you have to bring value, that ROI, return
Hmm.
on investment. What does that mean? I'm not saying that this program is 100% effective yet,
Hmm.
but they're trying it.
Right.
Amazon is way ahead of the game when it
Hmm.
comes to being innovative. And
Hmm.
so, what piece is missing? Well, what piece is missing is you don't get to see that person's personality. Does it,
Hmm.
gel well with the team, or, their real skills? However, it doesn't mean they can't put questions in there to rate that. And it's
Hmm.
rated based on their answer, right?
Right.
And so, in order to stay relevant, what are you going to do better than that?
Hmm.
That's going to be the main thing. You have to be better than what a machine. You got to think about this strategically
Hmm.
and how it's going to work. So for
Hmm.
me, it would be that human touch. What can I give better than a machine can? So you have to,
Right.
be innovative in your thought process, think out of the box.
Right.
How I've always done it is not going to work anymore.
Hmm. All right. So the thing is now the challenge and the thing that I'm thinking about is coming up now is there's a sense there that when you're looking for a job or you're looking for the right company, your mind is automatically thinking about how much money you can make. All right. So nowadays, I mean, I'm thinking back to my college self as I'm thinking about, apps and how this works and how that works. And you have to take a job considering how much money you're going to make. However, you got to understand too, there's a certain, when you mention ROI, there's a certain element of how are you going to bring the company value? What can you do for the company first that I think needs to be addressed, especially when we're talking in the HR world? Because what I can actually see is I genuinely know this has to happen in the high level executives is they're looking at numbers, they're looking at spreadsheets, they're looking at how much is this person's salary cost to me versus how much would it cost to implement this system. Okay, remove that person from the system that's just sitting there collecting money all day. And there's people literally who've made careers off this. They've literally been doing this for years, and they're going to get
Yep.
replaced. So as we talk about the new norm, or as we talk about what's actually going to happen, how do we sort of advise kids to take initiative and maybe lock down 50 or 20 companies or 50 industries or things that they know they want to work in and they know they can add value because I can help them, but not about, oh, I'm making this much money and it's all about me, because that's where to me that's where the conflict is always happening.
Yes.
The person feeling like, oh well, I have this degree and I have this, so I deserve this amount of salary, versus the owner saying, well, you're not bringing me any money. I could save a ton of
Wow.
money by just virtually going to whatever it is, and then there's just this constant back and forth that I see every single day I see, even when I'm not even trying to think about business, but boom, it pops up when I'm on a brunch with my family.
Well, it's so true because when you graduate from
Hmm.
school and whatever subject or topic it is,
Hmm.
say it's business management, you say, oh, well, I have a master's degree, so I need to make X amount of money. You
Hmm.
can't think about that anymore
Yes.
because there's 1,000 people out there with a master's degree and X, right? And so you have to figure out what you want to do,
Hmm.
what industry you want to do it for. You have to really hone in on this, what
Yes.
industry you're going to do it for, and then what kind of roles that are going to make you happy. You
Hmm.
can't go after the money. You have to go after what makes you passionate and
Right.
driven, right?
Okay.
Once you identify that and you ask
Yeah.
yourself those questions, you have to be
Right.
honest with yourself
Mhm.
and you do that, then you're going to pick the companies. And then
Okay.
you're going to read
Not
their
to
job
not to cut you
description.
off because I don't want it to get rushed over, folks. She said, "What kind of role? All right. There's a difference between a role and a job. All right. The job just gonna pay you, get you by. There's a specific role you have that you have got to get deep inside of. Whatever it is you like to do, whatever it is you enjoy doing, whatever fulfills you, whatever fills you up, whatever actually you're waking up every morning thinking about the first day, late at night, the things that you really want to do. That's your role, and you're not
Yeah,
taught that in school. You're taught,
that's
hey,
your purpose.
that's your
That's what,
purpose. That is
yes,
something that you have to. I did not want to let that get brushed over, but I'll
yes.
let you go.
Yeah, and it's true because if you just pick for money,
Hmm.
what if you get in that job and you hate it?
Yes,
So doing this beforehand will save you a lot of heartache and time,
yes,
right?
yes.
And so once you find that, then you're going to narrow it down by company,
Hmm.
and then you start looking at their job descriptions. Now, a
Hmm.
job description is not the end all be all, right?
Right.
But you're going to go down and say, okay, how can I bring value to these things that they're asking for? Bullet point it and
Yes,
write it down, not type
yes.
it, not anything. Write it down how you can bring
Hmm.
value, and
Yes.
then create your resume to fit that.
Yes, great, man, great advice. So, all right, let's dive into this concept of bringing value and defining what value actually means. So, if we're looking at the example of a parking meter, a parking garage, value for them, folks, is cars coming in and paying their money. They don't care if it's cash. They don't care if it's on a card. They don't care if it's on an app. They don't care. The value for them, in order for them to stay in business, is them paying that them seeing cars go into the garage and their money and receipts coming and checks. That's what value is. So when you're talking about figuring out how you create value, when you make this list, part of this list, and I would even recommend now, plug it in Chat GPT, plug it in, go talk to some people, go, we have YouTube University that has absolutely been incredible, and go see how some people has literally, like, I'll show you right here. This guy right here, book was recommended to me by the significant other, and I've been tuning into it. This guy was living in his van, and he, in his mind, he was seeing certain he was in Detroit, and he was seeing abandoned buildings and abandoned houses, and he was cleaning them. And now he has $1 million cleaning company, $1 million cleaning business based on the abandoned buildings that he saw in his hometown of Detroit. That's what I mean. My man added value, man, added value. By the way, I did reach out to him on LinkedIn, Mario. Hope I get you on the show. But listen, I'm super,
Not just
super inspired.
value, he was
Yeah,
thinking out of the box too.
yeah.
He
I
wasn't
mean,
thinking, oh, this can't be done. No, he thought outside of the box to do
let
that.
me tell you, man. Okay, I got to read a little because I just started tuning into it. But where is it? It said I started to see connections where others saw only problems, where others saw abandoned buildings. I saw potential cleaning contracts where others saw unemployed youth. I saw a workforce eager for opportunity where others saw a city in decline. I saw a community ripe for revitalization, folks. Come
Yeah.
on, man. Okay, this is what I'm saying
That's
to
what you have
you.
to think about. You have to
Oh my.
look at the bigger picture.
And like again, not to get too, I didn't even plan on bringing that up today, but like not to get too up, but when you have that mindset, and I'm just speaking from myself specifically, you can be out in Miami having good old family time, and then something like this sparks up, and it creates a completely different. Okay, I had a different direction I want to go, but now we got to talk about this because this is something that triggered me, and I could remember actually going to people like, so, when you have to put your card in and you stick your hand out and then you got to press it and the person comes out, and it's like all of that removed because somebody was smart enough to say to themselves, oh, wait, hold up. Sorry. Let me put it up on the screen so they know what we're talking about. But somebody was smart enough to say, wait a minute, the power of technology, right? If we create an app that makes it easy for people to just drive in, hit a button, drive out, no little thing going up, no replacement. They're simply making it easier, the lives easier for people, and that's what it's all about. So let's talk. Let's dive. We got about 5 minutes before we get to the questions. Let's dive into more of the value part of it. Is what is the thing that HR execs and people that are hiring looking for this value, how is it that you would suggest that they go about? Because I'm not gonna lie, I'm not. I mean, I get their Amazon, but I'm not a big fan of an idea where, and I'm sure there's a part of the interview process where a human meets a human, but everybody's not Amazon, and everybody. I don't think everybody should do that. I think at some point you're gonna have to actually meet the people, shake their hand, figure out what their intentions are, what they're all about. What is something that you would recommend maybe other companies do to make it so they're bringing in or they're asking questions in the process to say, hey, look, how are you adding value? How are you going to add value to my problems? How are you going to solve the company's problems? How are you going to make it more efficient? How are you going to do whatever it is you do? Not be that person that's sitting back and just collecting money.
So we'll pick up where we left off about,
Yes.
making your resume
Mhm.
tailor to that role, your passion that you're
No,
applying
but I
for.
mean, like, so not the person. I'm talking about the person that is actually hiring. I'm talking about the
Oh,
person
the
that's actually,
company.
yeah, the company,
Okay.
right? Because that's what I'm
So
saying.
the
Like,
company,
Amazon does a thing where if you do the technology and you do it all virtual, that's good. But you're Amazon. You're kind of in a different stratosphere
right,
than
right.
the majority of people. You don't have the funds to just say, okay, get it done, fix it. Like, how would you recommend like HR execs bring in these people that add value?
So we've talked about it, I think, every episode. You
Mhm.
have
Yeah,
the
we've touched
HR
on kind of
frame.
these similar concepts.
It's all about the HR framework, and you
Hmm.
build that interview guide behavioral based to that
Right.
role. The only
Hmm.
way to get the right person for the job is to ask the right questions.
Yeah.
And
Now,
that'll fix so many issues. So how do you do that? You
yeah,
partner with a professional that can
yeah,
help you create a behavioral based interview.
right.
And
That.
guys, let's get rid of the panel interviews. We don't need 10 people in one interview.
Wow. Okay,
Like,
I'll let you dive into that. Go ahead. I was gonna make a point, but go ahead. Yeah.
let's move fast, because guess what? Just as much as we want the right fit, the people want the right fit. So if it takes
Right.
you 3 months to hire somebody, they
Right.
moved on.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you have to be quick and efficient. So
Right.
create that interview, that behavioral based interview, and
Hmm.
have one person interview. Okay,
Hmm.
whoever the decision maker is, they should do the interview,
Hmm.
and then hire them and then onboard them within a week.
So can you?
That's how you do
I
it.
know for me, this is actually my first time hearing the concept. When you say behavioral based interview, can you define a little bit more what you mean?
Yes. So, for example, and I always start an interview off this way. I explain what the role is, and I say, now I'm going to ask you some questions. And what
Hmm.
I would like is the situation. So what was the opportunity? How did you go about fixing it? And then what
Hmm.
was the outcome? Okay. So I set them up for success that way. And
So
then for one,
let's pretend you're interviewing me and you're asking me how I fixed an opportunity. Is that what it would be?
right. So
Take
that's
it
the
further.
framework.
Mm,
That's the framework for each question, right?
okay.
So one question would be, if you had a disagreement with your supervisor,
Hmm.
or can you tell me a time where you had a disagreement with your supervisor, and what was the situation and what was the outcome?
Hmm.
Okay.
And then they would answer.
Based
Okay.
on that answer, based on their answer, what you're looking for is the
Hmm.
number one. They'll if somebody says, I've never disagreed with my supervisor,
They're
they're
lying.
not telling the truth.
They're lying. Right.
Okay, because everyone has disagreed. We're not talking about an argument, but you
Yeah.
disagreed, right?
Right.
So that's an automatic done.
Hmm.
But or if they never had a job before, then you can say,
A
tell me
disagreement
what you
passport or
would do.
something like that. Right.
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 So if they say, well, there was a time where I disagreed with a decision,
Hmm.
they wanted to implement a new process. And
Hmm.
so I went to my supervisor and said, I understand you want to make this implementation, but have you thought about it this way? So you're having a productive conversation, even though you disagree. What you're looking for is someone that's willing to have a conversation, willing to compromise, and willing to bring solutions to the table.
Hmm.
Because otherwise, most people just sit back and say, oh, I just don't like their decision.
Hmm.
They're just so dumb. I would have done it this way, but they never bring it forward. So,
Right.
how can you be a problem solver if you never bring something forward.
All
So
right.
that's an example.
Yeah, and it takes me. I know we got to get to the question, but I have to tell the story because as it wouldn't be me if I didn't bring it to the football world in some way, shape, form, or fashion. Okay, just wouldn't be me. But it's just like this. The guy. So if you're listening to this on the Move Swiftly podcast, I put an image up of a book I read a couple years ago by the legendary Sean Payton. Currently, he's the head coach for the Denver Broncos, but back when he was the head coach for the New Orleans Saints when he won a Super Bowl, I read this book. It was like they won it right after Hurricane Katrina and all that stuff. And he was given his history on his coaching career and how he found his coaching career. And he told the story in this book that's really worth retelling. He was he was about to get a job with, I can't remember the team, but the head coach asked him something similar. He asked him, he goes, hey, if you were to run into a situation where another coach told you to do something unethical or something you didn't want to do, and you knew it was unethical, you knew it was something you didn't want to do, what would you say? And Sean Payton, thinking that he just wants to tell him what he wants to get a job, he says, oh, I'll try to fix the problem, I will try to do this. He gave some other answer, and then the head coach tells him that's the wrong answer. The answer should have been, you need to come to me first and explain to me. And then Sean Payton said in the book, he goes, and then he said to him, look, I was just saying that answer because I wanted the job. And he goes, well, you're not going to get it. You're not getting this job because you gave the wrong answer. Next time that happens, and let that be a lesson for you in the future, and you see what he's
Yes.
become, one of the more successful coaches in the NFL, because he got that lesson early on in his coaching career. And I implore you, I beg of you, young people. I mean, me and my niece, my 15, soon to be 16-year-old niece, we're going back and forth over and over this. Is young people, get on this, man. Get on this. You do not have you are not in a situation where tenure is coming. It's not happening. People are waking up and they're saying to themselves, look, I'm going to use technology as efficiently as I possibly can. And you, my friend, the younger generation, if you're just as planning to sit back and get your money and collect it and get your bag and all that, it's not happening no more. Okay, we're moving forward. People are moving forward with their money because of technology. That's what's happening. So all that being said, let's jump into the questions a little bit. So the prompt today was create 5 questions that a business owner would want answered about apps replacing humans. Oh, this is a good one. This is an absolute good one that I'm sure we are about to crush. Let me get this thing right here. All right.
It's always a surprise with you every week.
Yeah. I mean, well, that's when you're locked in, man. That's when you're locked in. And you like every day. So I think about my theme probably by the time I get to Thursday of every week. I think about the theme I'm going to be talking about, and then I merge it with what is going to happen. And then obviously, when you get new information, new books, stuff just comes up. So it's part of the process, man. So number one, what's the real ROI of replacing staff with an app or an automation tool? Great.
Here we go.
Great.
Okay.
That's a great one.
All
Woo.
right. So I'm going to think about it from a reporting standpoint
Yeah.
because I'm a reporting nerd. If you know anything about me, I love metrics.
Yes.
And, if we can automate that, which
Yeah.
anybody can, then the ROI is that you're going to get accurate reporting to
Hmm.
make business decisions. When you have a human doing reporting, I mean, there is error. I mean, with automation, there is too. But the
Hmm.
more you fine tune it, the better the reporting. The
Right.
reporting is only good as the information you feed it.
Got it. Got it.
And so that is one of the things that could be automated for
Hmm.
business owners could just have it sent to them every day at a certain
Right.
time, and
Hmm.
they know they have accurate information every
Right.
single day. So that
Right.
is a real benefit.
Mhm. And I would always whenever I hear the word ROI, I think about Robert Kiyosaki. And I would challenge everyone to go get the book Rich Dad Poor Dad. And when we're thinking about if you are the owner in this situation, you're thinking about your investment, you got to really ask yourself, what are the assets that are going into it? And is your money making money? So if every sale you make is making you a certain amount, then that's where you can gauge the interest of your staff. So if you have a staff member that is doing X, but they're not committing a certain amount of sales, that's when you know it's time to let them go, because they're not adding to your assets. They're sitting back and they're collecting whatever you're willing to give them for this specific service. They're not making their return on their investment, because you could look at it. This is what someone's doing in sales. My sales are going to this asset. This asset's bringing it back to me, and it's a big circle. You ain't making your sales, sayonara. And I'm saying that it's kind of harsh, because the next question is going to lead to, this isn't as easy of a decision as you may think it is. So the
Right.
next question is, how can I balance efficiency with empathy? Now, I'll go first on this one, because as I read it, I thought of being at, when I was at Orange Theory. There's a lot. There was the manager of the multiple Orange Theory fitnesses, his name was Don. He had an assistant. Her name was, I think, Trish or something like that, who didn't really do much sales, but she was like doing a lot of different things. And I was asking one of the colleagues, the other sales associates there, so what is she there for? Like, what good is she about? He goes, look, she has 4 kids, so he's not gonna just let her go. She's going through a lot of things. She helps out with, whatever she needs to help out with, administrative work or whatever it is. But there is a empathy piece, and I didn't disagree. I'm like, look, you got 4 kids. You're not going to kick a woman on the street with 4 kids because she can't produce sales. Obviously, she has other things that she can help. And when you think about efficiency and empathy, this is where that role thing that you were talking about, those roles really, really got to be defined by you as an owner, to know certain roles you're not going to necessarily see a return on investment money wise, but there will be a level of empathy to where your culture and your company can feel a sense of, hey, this person cares about it. Like, the one thing about Trish is, I remember her really genuinely caring about our success as sales associates and things like that. And that's where I started to see her value over time.
So you hit it on the head. A
Right.
lot of times when a manager or leader is looking at a person, they're like, oh, they just can't do this job. They're horrible.
Right.
Okay. Instead of thinking, okay, I'm just going to terminate them, be proactive and
Yeah.
say, she or he is not good at this, right?
Hmm.
But they're good at this. What
Hmm.
role do we have in our company that
Yes.
could fit this person's skill set? And
Hmm.
then put them in that job. Because if they are passionate and they, care about, what the outcome is, why would you want to lose an employee like that?
Hmm.
So retain the employee, put them in the right role. They're good. It's a win-win. They're going to
Yeah.
win because they stay employed, and you're going to win because you have them in the right role. And then you can fill the other role with the right person.
Okay, folks. So just so we are 1,000% clear, Kimberly does not know the questions as they come. They doesn't know the answers. This isn't scripted stuff. I swear this is not scripted stuff. So I'm gonna read question 3, and you guys know it's not scripted at all, because
Oh
it's
my God.
it says what roles in my, she don't work for ChatGPT. This is just, again, this is why I call her my HR expert. This is why she's Kimberly Blue, damn it. Okay. What roles in my company are most vulnerable to being replaced, and how can I upskill those employees instead? We don't need to say anything about it. We hit it. We were already there. We're on point. You can tell we've been doing this for a while now. So now let's go with question number 4. So before we're going to get legal, and again, this is something that I've reached out to you about when it comes to actually some of the things I deal with at the school. It's what legal and ethical risks come with tech to replace human labor. And I'll let you speak on this a little bit, but I would assume the people who are really just out of touch with what's going on the revenue generating side. They're so much into busy work. Me as an educator, I see it every day. People overuse their PowerPoint. They overuse YouTube. They use the internet to just let the kids watch TV or watch movies and let that be the lesson and all that kind of stuff, to where they're already doing it, but it's not, in my opinion, it's unethical if someone's paying you to teach and you're spending 80% of the time using a video or using YouTube to teach them, when someone's actually paying you to teach. So legal and ethical stuff, educators, I'm just telling you, I'm just letting you know, they coming for that ass. Coming for that ass. Mr. Trump in office is coming for that behind, because education is so important, and our teachers, our educators,
Yes.
they're dropping the ball with this, because they have the luxury of using TV and using the internet to say they're teaching kids, but they're not actually doing anything in these classrooms. I know it from experience. So
Just make ethical decisions.
mhm.
If you have a job it's okay to use it as a tool, right?
Hmm.
But it's not okay for it to be your only source. You have to, because what'll happen over time is that you'll lose your brain power,
Yeah.
and you'll lose your craft. So
Right.
use it ethically by still having that human touch to it.
All right. All right. So number five, this one's actually kind of interesting. How do I assess which apps actually add value versus ones that just follow trends? Ooh, that's a good one.
You're gonna
I
have
would,
to test. You're gonna have to
yeah,
see,
you have to
because
see
there
it.
are a lot out there. And so I'll tell you, like when I'm, say creating something,
Mhm.
I'll use three different ones just to get an idea, or prompt starters, right? And then
Mhm.
once sometimes you get a prompt starter, then I could continue the training with
Mhm.
my own words. And then once I'm done, I'll run it through to see, did I miss a word? Did I misspell something? Does a sentence not make sense, right?
Mhm.
So you're just gonna have to try them out to see which one works for you and for
Yes.
the problem you're trying to solve.
Yes, and I mean the only thing I'll add on to that is just make sure it doesn't suck up your time. Time is
Yes, because that's the point of them. As
yeah,
people.
yeah. That's the point of the apps is they want to suck up all your time, and you just got to have so much of a focus on what it is you're trying to do. You got to love what you do so much that you will not ever disrespect your time the way in that way. You just got to love it to the point. Again, like I mentioned today, I didn't plan on talking about this, but before we were recording, I was up digging into this because I know this is something that's going to be added value over time and things like that. So as always, it's been an absolutely fantastic, incredible episode with my HR expert here. And we never know where we're going to go. We just know that there's going to be content available because we all want to stay hired. We don't want to be in a situation like I was talking about with Trish, where, man, you are good and you deserve a job. But hey, the way technology works, you could unfortunately be replaced by somebody who just doesn't know any better. They just have to make their money and figure it out. So we're here to help those folks create these roles. So everything I do is gonna, at some point, is gonna come back to what we do here on Sunday. This is what we're about here. So I'll give you the last word as we close out.
You have to stay ethical, keep driving for excellence,
Hmm.
and you will get there. Pick a partner that can help you. If you need any help building your framework, you can contact me at Ardent HR Solutions. Aslan, wonderful as always. I'll see you next time.
All right, guys. See you guys next week. See you guys next week. Continue to move swiftly. We'll talk more soon.